It is the ultimate violation. We are talking about a betrayal so deep, so calculated, and so financially devastating that it makes every other scandal we have covered on this channel look like child's play. We are not just talking about a stolen husband anymore. We are talking about a stolen life. Breaking news coming out of Oregon suggests that Amy Roloff has filed a police report for federal identity theft after discovering nearly $50,000 in fraudulent debt accumulated under her name. But here is the twist that will make your jaw hit the floor. The culprit isn't some anonymous hacker in a basement overseas. All roads, all the evidence, and every single paper trail lead directly to one person, Caryn Chandler. We have heard reports about credit card statements, security footage of a woman who looks exactly like Karin signing Amy's name, and a shocking police report that changes everything. This is a felony that doesn't just get you canceled. It sends you to federal prison for 10 years. We are diving deep into this financial true crime story, but before we expose the receipts and the shocking details of how this went down, I need you to take a second and hit that like button. If you think justice needs to be served and the truth needs to come out, smash that like and make sure you are subscribed to Sister Wives Crew. We are tracking the drama from Flagstaff to Roloff Farms, and you do not want to miss the updates on this investigation. So let's set the scene. Amy Roloff has always prided herself on being financially responsible. She is a woman who built a business empire, raised 4 kids, and navigated a very public, very messy divorce without ever losing her financial independence. She has perfect credit, or at least she thought she did. This entire nightmare began on what was supposed to be a celebratory day. According to exclusive theories and insider chatter, Amy went to a dealership to look at trading in her vehicle. She found the car she wanted, sat down with the finance manager, and waited for the standard approval. It should have been instant, but instead of a handshake and a set of keys, the manager came back looking incredibly uncomfortable. He told her she was denied. Not just denied, but red flagged. Amy was confused. She thought it was a computer glitch. She knows her scores are in the 800s. But when the manager turned the screen around, Amy saw a number that made her stomach drop. Her credit score had tanked by over 200 points overnight. She didn't understand what she was looking at. The report showed a massive delinquency, a terrifying red stamp on her file. There was a collection notice for a defaulted American Express Black Card, one of the most exclusive credit cards in the world, with a balance of $50,000. Amy has never had a Black Card. She doesn't spend money like that. She is frugal. She is careful. She looked at the manager and said, "This isn't mine." But the system doesn't care what you say. It only cares what is on the file. She left that dealership humiliated, shaking, and terrified. As soon as she got home, she did what anyone would do. She called the credit bureau. And this is where the story shifts from a simple banking error to a sinister plot that feels eerily similar to the financial abuse we have seen with Robin Brown and Cody. Amy gets a representative on the line, and she demands to know what is going on. The representative pulls up the file and tells her that this account was opened 6 months ago. The payments were made on time for the first 3 months to establish the credit line, and then suddenly the spending maxed out and the payments stopped. It is a classic bust-out fraud scheme. You build trust, you max the limit, and you vanish. Amy asks for the details. She needs to know where this money was spent. If her identity was stolen, usually it's someone buying electronics in another country or gift cards online. But the representative starts listing the charges, and Amy's blood runs cold. These aren't random purchases. The charges are geographic. They are specific. And they paint a picture of a lifestyle that Amy doesn't live, but one she recognizes. The charges are all located in Scottsdale, Arizona. Let's pause for a second and think about that. Who do we know who spends half their time in Arizona? Who do we know who loves the high life, the luxury items, the status symbols? The representative continues down the list. There are thousands of dollars spent at high-end day spas in Scottsdale. There are charges for luxury patio furniture from a designer showroom in Phoenix. There is a charge for a down payment on a vehicle. A Lexus, oddly enough, which aligns perfectly with rumors we discussed in a previous video about Caryn looking for a new luxury ride. Amy is sitting there on the phone, and the realization hits her like a freight train. This isn't a stranger. A stranger doesn't steal your identity to buy patio furniture in the exact city where your ex-husband and his girlfriend own a vacation home. A stranger doesn't have the specific personal information needed to bypass the security questions for a card of this magnitude. To open a line of credit like this, you need more than just a name. You need a social security number. You need previous addresses. You need mothers' maiden names. You need the kind of data that is usually locked away in a safe. Amy hangs up the phone and she feels sick. She realizes that there are only a handful of people in this world who have access to those documents. And for decades, those documents were stored in the filing cabinets at Roloff Farms, the same farm office that Caryn Chandler took over when she became the farm manager, the same office where Caryn spent hours alone, organizing, filing, and allegedly digging through the family's financial history. We have to talk about psychology here because it connects so deeply to what we see with the sister wives dynamic. It is about entitlement. Just like Robin Brown felt entitled to the family pot to buy her mansions and her art, the theory here is that Caryn felt entitled to Amy's credit. Think about the narrative Caryn has been spinning for years. She claims she has her own money. She claims she is independent. But we have also heard the rumors about her own legal troubles, her own debt, and her inability to secure loans in her own name. If you are desperate to keep up appearances, if you are desperate to look like the wealthy matriarch of the farm, but your own credit is shot, what do? You find a host. You find someone with pristine credit who you think isn't paying attention. Amy immediately tells Chris Marek. Now, thank God for Chris. If this were Matt, he probably would have told Amy she was crazy or that it was a clerical error. But Chris is a realtor. He understands background checks, credit reports, and fraud. He knows that this is not a game. He looks at Amy, sees how shaken she is, and he goes into full protector mode. He tells her, "We are not just disputing this. We are tracking this down." Chris gets on the phone with the credit card company's fraud department. He pushes harder than Amy did. He demands to know the billing address. If the card was opened 6 months ago, the physical card had to be mailed somewhere. It wasn't mailed to Amy's house in Oregon. It wasn't mailed to the farm. So where did it go? The fraud department is hesitant, but Chris knows the lingo. He explains that they are filing a police report and need the information for the investigation. Finally, the agent gives him the address on file. It is a P.O. box, but it is not just any P.O. box. It is located inside a UPS store in Surprise, Arizona. Surprise, Arizona. Just a short drive from where Matt and Caryn stay. This is the smoking gun. This is the moment where coincidence leaves the building and criminal intent walks in. Why would a fraudster who stole Amy's identity randomly choose a P.O. box in the exact town where Caryn Chandler operates? It doesn't make sense unless the fraudster is physically there to pick up the mail. Chris doesn't stop there. He knows that simply knowing the address isn't enough. They need proof. They need to see who opened that box. They need to see who walked in and took that envelope containing the black card. This is where the story turns into a full-blown detective thriller. Chris decides they need eyes on the ground. They are in Oregon, but they need to see what is happening in Arizona. He hires a local private investigator in the Surprise and Scottsdale area. This wasn't about the money anymore. For Amy, this was about safety. It was about the violation of privacy. Imagine knowing that the woman who replaced you, The woman who took your place on the farm also took your private legal identity. It is creepy. It is obsessive. It suggests that Caryn doesn't just want to be with Matt. She wants to be Amy. She wants the credit score, the status, the financial freedom that Amy built because she can't build it herself. The private investigator gets to work fast. He stakes out the UPS store. He manages to get information about the rental of that specific box. And according to the insiders who are leaking bits and pieces of this investigation, the PI struck gold. He obtained a photo, a surveillance shot from the day the P.O. box was opened. Now, usually these photos are grainy. They are black and white, low resolution, but in this case, the lighting was perfect. The image shows a woman standing at the counter, filling out the rental forms. She is wearing sunglasses and a hat, trying to be discreet, but you can't hide that posture. You can't hide that distinctive style. The PI sends the photo to Chris and Amy. Amy looks at the photo on her phone and she bursts into tears. Not tears of sadness, but tears of shock and rage. She knows that jacket. She has seen it at farm events. She knows the purse on the counter. It's Caryn. There is no doubt in her mind. Caryn Chandler walked into a UPS store, used Amy Roloff's social security number, and rented a box specifically to receive a fraudulent credit card. But the question remains, how did she get the number? This is where we have to look back at the history of Roloff Farms. For years, Caryn was the farm manager. She didn't just plan pumpkin season. She handled payroll. She handled contracts. She had keys to every door and every cabinet. In the big house where Amy and Matt lived for 30 years, there was a filing room. Amy has admitted in the past that she wasn't always the most organized with old paperwork. She kept tax returns from 2010, 2011, joint filings from when the farm was making massive money. Those returns have everything on them: full names, dates of birth, social security numbers for Amy, Matt, and all the kids. When Amy moved out, she took a lot, but she didn't take everything. And during that transition period, when Matt and Caryn were taking over the big house, renovating it, and turning it into a rental, Caryn had unrestricted access to those old files. It is the perfect crime of opportunity. She didn't have to hack a computer. She just had to open a drawer. Think about the timing. We know Caryn has been pushing Matt to build the dream home in Arizona. We know she likes the finer things, but we also know that reality TV money isn't infinite, and Matt is known for being tight with his wallet when it comes to certain things. If Caryn wanted to splurge, if she wanted to live like a queen in Scottsdale without Matt questioning the bills, she needed a secret funding source. She couldn't use Matt's cards because he would see the statements. She couldn't use her own because her credit was reportedly maxed out. So she used the one person she thought wouldn't notice until it was too late. The one person she has underestimated for years, Amy. But Caryn made a fatal mistake. She assumed Amy was slow or checked out. She assumed Amy wouldn't notice a credit drop because she thought Amy wasn't buying big ticket items anymore. She didn't count on Amy wanting a new car. She didn't count on Chris Marek being a hawk when it comes to finances. And she certainly didn't count on the fact that identity theft across state lines, using an Oregon identity to commit fraud in Arizona, is a federal offense. We are talking about the FBI potentially getting involved here. This isn't a civil dispute. This isn't a small claims court. This is wire fraud. This is mail fraud. This is aggravated identity theft. As the investigation continued, Chris and Amy needed more than just the P.O. box photo. They needed to tie Caryn to the actual spending. The credit card company, now realizing they were dealing with a high-profile fraud case involving television personalities, began to cooperate more fully. They flagged the specific transaction at the jewelry store in Scottsdale. This was a purchase for a $3,000 bracelet. The credit card company was able to retrieve a digital copy of the receipt. Now, we all know signatures on digital pads can be messy, but this one was clear. It read Amy Roloff. But when Amy looked at it, she noticed something chilling. The handwriting wasn't hers. It didn't even look like someone was trying to copy her handwriting. It looked like Karen's handwriting, specifically the loop on the Y. We have analyzed Karen's handwriting on this channel before. Back when we discussed the forgery rumors regarding the farm sale documents in topic number 7, Karin has a very specific, flamboyant way of signing her name. The Y loops back in a large, sweeping motion. The signature on the fraud receipt had that exact same loop. It was as if Karin was so arrogant, so used to signing her own name, that she subconsciously used her own flourish while signing Amy's name. It is a signature tell, a forensic handwriting analyst's dream. But it gets worse for Caryn. The jewelry store had cameras, high-definition security cameras. The PI in Arizona went to the store. Now, usually stores won't release footage to civilians, but because a police report had been filed, and because the PI was working with law enforcement contacts, they managed to get a description of the footage. The video shows a woman entering the store. She isn't looking around nervously. She is confident. She walks right up to the counter, points out the bracelet, and hands over the black card. The cashier runs it. The woman smiles, chats with the cashier, maybe even talks about the weather. She is utterly remorseless. She signs the pad, takes the bag, and walks out. That woman was Caryn Chandler. This footage is the nail in the coffin. It proves it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an authorized user mix-up. You don't sign someone else's name if you think you are authorized. You sign your own. By signing Amy Roloff, she committed forgery. She impersonated Amy with the intent to defraud. Amy was devastated. The betrayal is hard to articulate. It's one thing to steal a husband. That's emotional. But to steal someone's financial identity is a calculated attack on their survival. It's an attempt to ruin them. If Amy hadn't caught this, if she had waited another 6 months, she could have been on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars. She could have lost her house. She could have been bankrupt. And where is Matt in all of this? That is the question everyone is asking. Did Matt know? We have to wonder. Matt is a micromanager. He knows where every penny goes on the farm, but this was off the farm. This was in Arizona. It is entirely possible that Karin was playing him too. Maybe she told him she bought the furniture with her own savings. Maybe she told him the bracelet was a gift from a friend. Or, and this is the darker theory, maybe Matt knew Caryn was getting creative with finances, but turned a blind eye because it meant he didn't have to pay for her luxury tastes. But Matt's denial, which we will get to in a moment, suggests he is scrambling. He is trying to protect the brand. He knows that if his girlfriend is arrested for a felony, the show is over. The farm reputation is destroyed. The walls are closing in on Caryn Chandler. The evidence is mounting. You have the P.O. box in her town. You have access to the SSN in the farm office. You have the signature match, you have the video footage, and now you have a very angry, very motivated Amy Roloff who is done playing nice. We are now entering the phase of this investigation where things stop being a reality TV drama and start becoming a federal case. When we talk about identity theft, most people think of a local police report, a slap on the wrist, maybe some community service. But what Caryn Chandler is accused of doing is not a local crime. It involves crossing state lines. It involves using the United States Postal Service to facilitate fraud. It involves wire fraud because the credit transactions were processed electronically across the country. We are talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The moment Amy Roloff realized that her identity was being used in Arizona while she was sitting in Oregon, the jurisdiction shifted. This became a federal crime. Amy didn't hesitate. Sources close to the family say that after seeing the video footage description and the signature analysis, she drove straight to the precinct. She filed a formal report for aggravated identity theft. This is a specific charge that carries a mandatory minimum prison sentence if convicted. It is the nuclear option. Amy wasn't looking for an apology. She wasn't looking for Matt to pay it off quietly to make it go away. She was looking for justice. She froze her credit immediately, locking down every single account, but the damage was already done. The police took the report, they took the evidence Chris Marek had compiled, and they reached out to their counterparts in Arizona. Now, picture the scene. It is a quiet, sunny morning in Surprise, Arizona. This is a retirement community. It is peaceful. It is the kind of place where people go to escape the drama. Matt and Caryn are in their vacation home, likely planning their day, maybe talking about the renovations on the new build. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door, but it isn't a neighbor bringing cookies. It isn't a fan wanting a photo. It is law enforcement with a search warrant. We have received reports describing a raid on the Arizona property. The police weren't there to check if the grass was cut. They were looking for specific material evidence related to financial fraud. They were looking for the black card. They were looking for receipts. They were looking for the merchandise bought with the stolen identity. Imagine the panic. Matt Roloff likes to be in control. He likes to run the show. But you cannot produce a reality show when the police are tearing apart your living room. You cannot edit around a search warrant. According to the leaked details of this investigation, the police found exactly what they were looking for. And where they found it is almost too cliché to be true, but criminals often get sloppy. They didn't find the card buried in the backyard. They didn't find it shredded in the trash. They found the American Express black card, issued in the name of Amy Roloff, inside Caryn Chandler's wallet. Let that sink in. She was carrying it around. She had it sitting right next to her driver's license. That speaks to a level of arrogance that is truly disturbing. It suggests she wasn't afraid of getting caught. It suggests she felt untouchable. Maybe she thought that because she is on TV, the rules don't apply. Maybe she thought that because she is with Matt Roloff, she has a shield. But the police officer who pulled that card out of her wallet didn't care about little people, big world. He just cared that the name on the card didn't match the name on the ID. This is the moment of confrontation. Matt is watching this happen. And this is where the story gets even more twisted. You would expect Matt to be shocked. You would expect him to be horrified that his girlfriend is stealing from the mother of his children. But instead, we are hearing reports that Matt went into immediate spin control. He didn't denounce the crime. He tried to reframe it. Matt allegedly tried to tell the officers, and later his own legal team, that this was all a misunderstanding. His defense? He claimed that Caryn thought it was a corporate card. He tried to spin a narrative that because Caryn is an employee of the farm or a manager, she assumed the card was for farm expenses and that Amy's name was on it simply because Amy is still a shareholder. Let's tear this excuse apart because it is insulting to our intelligence. First of all, if you think a card is a corporate card, you don't use it to buy a personal Lexus down payment. You don't use it for spa days in Scottsdale. Corporate cards are for feed, for seeds, for equipment, for travel related to business. Secondly, and this is the smoking gun, if you think it is a corporate card authorized for your use, you sign your own name. You sign Caryn Chandler. You might print Roloff Farms below it. You do not, under any circumstances, practice the signature of the primary account holder and sign Amy Roloff. The moment she signed Amy's name at that jewelry store, she destroyed any mistake defense Matt could possibly conjure up. You don't accidentally forge a signature. That requires intent. That requires malice. The police didn't buy Matt's story for a second. They seized the card. They seized the luxury items that were on the premises, the designer bags, the jewelry, as evidence of the proceeds of crime. Caryn was reportedly left trembling. The facade of the confident, cool farm manager crumbled. Without Matt's protection, without the cameras editing her in a favorable light, she was just a suspect in a felony investigation. She was exposed, but the fallout was only just beginning. While the criminal investigation moves at the speed of government, the civil fallout happens instantly. Amy Roloff went for the financial jugular. She filed a civil lawsuit for what is known as treble damages. In fraud cases, because the act is so malicious, the court allows the victim to sue for 3 times the amount of the actual loss. So we aren't just talking about the $50,000 in debt. We are talking about $150,000 plus legal fees, plus damages for emotional distress, plus the cost of restoring her credit. Amy's lawyers moved to freeze Caryn's assets. This is a standard procedure when you are suing someone for fraud and you believe they might hide the money or spend it. The court granted the emergency order. Overnight, Caryn Chandler's financial life was put on ice. Her bank accounts were frozen. Her credit cards were locked. We are hearing stories that she couldn't even buy groceries. She had to rely entirely on Matt for every single cent. Think about the power dynamic shift. Caryn has spent years trying to position herself as Matt's equal, as a partner, not an employee. But now she is a liability. She is a dependent, and she is a massive financial drain. Matt is now paying for her criminal defense lawyer. He is paying for her daily expenses, and he is facing the reality that his girlfriend has dragged the Roloff name through the mud in the worst possible way. The civil suit also forces a discovery process. This is the part Caryn should be most afraid of. In a civil suit, Amy's lawyers have the right to subpoena Caryn's financial records going back years. They want to know, was this the first time? Did she steal from the pumpkin patch cash drawers? Did she skim off the top of the wedding venue fees? This lawsuit opens a Pandora's box. It allows forensic accountants to comb through every transaction Caryn has ever touched at Roloff Farms. This is why Matt is terrified. It's not just about protecting Caryn. It's about protecting the farm's books. If Caryn was playing fast and loose with Amy's personal credit, who is to say she wasn't doing the same with the farm's corporate accounts? Who is to say she hasn't been siphoning money from Matt without him knowing? Or, even worse, what if the forensic accountants find evidence that Matt knew about the fraud and did nothing? That would make him an accessory. That would expose him to criminal liability as well. The trust is shattered. In the court of law, this evidence paints Caryn as a compulsive liar and a thief. But in the court of public opinion, it destroys her character completely. Viewers have always been suspicious of Caryn. They called her a homewrecker. They called her a gold digger. But those were just names. Now, there is a police report. Now, there is a frozen bank account. Now, there is proof that she valued her own luxury lifestyle over the law and over common decency. Amy Roloff, meanwhile, is standing tall. She is devastated. Yes, she is angry. Absolutely. But she is taking back her power. By filing the suit, by pressing charges, she is sending a message to Matt and Caryn. You took my husband. You took the farmhouse. You tried to push me out of the family business, but you will not take my name. You will not take my credit. This is the line in the sand. As the news of the lawsuit hit the tabloids, the reaction from the other Roloff kids has been telling. Zach and Tori have been silent, but sources say they are disgusted. They have pulled away from the farm even more. They don't want their kids around this kind of criminal energy. Jeremy and Audrey, who usually stay out of the drama, have reportedly reached out to Amy to offer support. The family is rallying around the victim, and Caryn is finding herself increasingly isolated on that island with Matt. And speaking of Matt, the financial ruin isn't just hitting Karin, it's hitting the negotiations for the farm inheritance. Matt has been crying poverty for years, saying he can't afford to keep the farm unless the kids buy it at market value. But now it is revealed that his partner has been racking up $50,000 in fraudulent debt. It makes his financial pleas look ridiculous. It raises questions about where all the money is really going. Is the farm actually struggling, or is the money being bled out by Caryn's spending habits? The raid on the Arizona home was a wake-up call. It was a visual representation of the corruption that has seeped into the family dynamic since Caryn took control. The neighbors saw the police cars. The community knows. The homeowners association is likely discussing it. The shame is public. But there is another layer to this investigation that we need to touch on before we get to the conclusion. The digital trail. Chris Merrick and the PI uncovered emails. They uncovered browser history on the farm computer that Karin used. It shows searches for how to increase credit limit, luxury car down payments at Yankel, and spending tracking apps. It shows that this wasn't an impulse crime. This was premeditated. She planned it. She researched it. She executed it. This level of calculation is what makes her dangerous. It's what makes the mistake defense so laughable. You don't accidentally Google how to use someone else's social security number. You do that when you are planning a crime. The prosecutor has all of this. Amy's lawyer has all of this. And Caryn Chandler is staring down the barrel of a reality she never expected. A life without luxury, a life without freedom, and a legacy defined by theft. We are seeing the absolute destruction of a reputation in real time. Caryn wanted to be the queen of Roloff Farms. She wanted the respect. She wanted the applause. Instead, she is getting a mugshot. She is getting a subpoena. She is getting the cold shoulder from the entire world. And she has dragged Matt down with her. The question now is, will Matt cut her loose? Will he realize that she is a sinking ship? Or is he so entangled in her web, so complicit in her schemes, that he has to stick by her to protect himself? If he testifies against her, she might spill the beans on his secrets. If he supports her, he looks like a fool and an accomplice. He is in a checkmate position, and Amy Roloff is the one holding the pieces. As we move toward the final chapter of this saga, we have to look at the long-term consequences. This isn't just about paying back the money. This is about prison time. This is about a felony record that will follow Caryn for the rest of her life. She will never be able to work in management again. She will never be trusted with finances again. Her credibility is zero. The investigation is ongoing, and more details are leaking every day. We are hearing about potential other victims. We are hearing rumors that the IRS might be taking a look at those farm taxes now that fraud has been established. The dominoes are falling, and they are falling fast. We are now arriving at the end game of this financial tragedy. The investigation has moved past the point of speculation and into the cold, hard reality of federal indictments. As the dust settles from the raid on the Arizona home, the legal machinery is grinding Caryn Chandler down. We are hearing reports that the district attorney is not interested in a plea bargain that involves a slap on the wrist. They are looking to make an example out of this. Identity theft is an epidemic, and when you have a high-profile case involving television personalities, prosecutors see an opportunity to send a message to the public. That message is simple: nobody is above the law. The civil lawsuit Amy filed has already yielded devastating results for Caryn because the evidence was so overwhelming. The video, the signature, the possession of the physical card. The judge reportedly granted a summary judgment in Amy's favor. This means there wasn't even a need for a long, drawn-out trial to prove guilt. The facts spoke for themselves. The court ordered Caryn to pay the full restitution of $50,000 plus the triple damages allowed by law. That brings the total liability to nearly $200,000. But here is the problem. Caryn doesn't have it. Her assets are frozen, and what she does have is tied up in joint ventures with Matt. This puts Matt Roloff in a nightmare scenario. If he pays Amy on Caryn's behalf, he is effectively admitting that he is funding a criminal. He is using farm money, family money, to bail out the woman who stole from the mother of his children. It is a public relations suicide mission. But if he doesn't pay, Caryn faces asset seizure. The court could come for her personal vehicle. They could come for her jewelry. They could place liens on any property she owns. Amy Roloff has made it clear that she will not stop until every penny is recovered. She isn't doing this out of greed. She is doing it out of principle. She told close friends that she wants Caryn to feel the financial anxiety that she inflicted on Amy. She wants Caryn to know what it feels like to have your credit ruined and your future uncertain. It is poetic justice. The woman who wanted the luxury lifestyle is now facing financial destitution. The strain on Matt and Caryn's relationship is reportedly at a breaking point. You have to imagine the conversations happening behind closed doors in that Arizona house. Matt is a businessman first and a boyfriend second. He looks at balance sheets. He looks at liabilities. Right now, Caryn Chandler is the biggest liability in his life. She is radioactive. We are hearing whispers from insiders that Matt has been consulting with his own separate legal team, not to help Caryn, but to insulate himself from her. He is asking questions about how to untangle their finances. He is asking if he can be held liable for her fraud. This is the classic rats abandoning a sinking ship scenario. Caryn thought she had a golden parachute with Matt. She thought she was set for life, but Matt Roloff has a history of looking out for number one. If the feds start looking too closely at the farm's books because of Caryn's activities, Matt will cut her loose faster than he cut the pumpkin patch staff during the pandemic. He will throw her under the bus to save his empire. And let's talk about the farm. The reputation of Roloff Farms has taken a massive hit. Vendors are reportedly nervous. Sponsors are pulling back. Nobody wants their brand associated with a federal identity theft investigation. The farm, which was supposed to be a wholesome family destination, now feels like a crime scene. Amy, to her credit, has distanced herself completely from the daily operations, focusing on her cooking videos and her new life with Chris. She is thriving. She is glowing. She got her credit score restored. The fraudulent debt was removed from her record after the police report was verified, and she is moving forward. Caryn, on the other hand, is trapped. She can't leave the state due to the pending charges. She can't spend money. She can't show her face in public without being scrutinized. She has become a prisoner of her own greed. The luxury bags she bought with Amy's name, confiscated, the spa treatments, a distant memory. All that is left is the mugshot and the impending court date. This entire saga proves what we have suspected for a long time. The tension on the farm wasn't just about personalities. It wasn't just about Matt being difficult. It was about a fundamental lack of integrity brought in by outsiders who saw the Roloff family as a cash cow. Caryn didn't fall in love with Matt. She fell in love with the credit limit. She fell in love with the access. And when she couldn't get it legitimately, she took it criminally. As we wrap up this coverage, we have to look at the bizarre turn Matt's behavior has taken recently. With the walls closing in and the government investigating his partner, Matt has become increasingly paranoid about authority. He is losing control, and when Matt loses control, he spirals. He starts coming up with wild schemes to protect his assets from what he calls unjust persecution. We are receiving bizarre reports that Matt is looking into loopholes that go far beyond standard tax evasion. He is angry at the legal system for freezing Caryn's assets. He is angry at the police for the raid. He feels targeted, and this paranoia is leading him down a rabbit hole that could be even crazier than the identity theft itself. He is tired of answering to the state of Oregon. He is tired of answering to the IRS. He is tired of answering to the courts. It seems Matt Roloff has decided that if the laws don't work for him, he will just make his own laws. This brings us to the most shocking theory we have heard yet, a twist that could change the future of the show and the farm forever. Caryn wanted Amy's life so bad, she literally stole her name. But while she is facing prison, Matt is plotting his own escape from the system. Do you think Matt knew she was spending Amy's money? Or is he just trying to save his own skin now that the feds are watching? Let me know in the comments. And you need to subscribe right now because we have received exclusive intel that Matt is currently declaring the farm a sovereign nation to avoid paying taxes.